Hi guys, I just wanted to make this video to kind of go over this research portfolio assignment just to clear up any confusion or answer any questions you guys might have since I've already completed the assignment. I've also talked to the professor and she said that it is done correctly, so I'm not going to be giving you guys any wrong information, so you can just take this video and then you can just apply it to the question that you're working on and making this portfolio for. So we're just going to go ahead and start off with, obviously, read the purpose, and we will be using Notebook LM and Word doc. So we're going to go ahead and I'm just going to show you guys my Notebook LM. So this is the Notebook LM. You're going to either discover the sources in Notebook LM or you can put in your own. I do suggest that you just put in your own, because when you do the discover sources, it just generates 10 sources and you might have to do that multiple times, so you're literally swimming through 50-60 sources that may or may not be relevant. And I just found that to be really time consuming, so I went to Google Scholar, and if we look over here, so source collection and evaluation, we have to have at least 7 sources. And of the 7, it has to be 5 peer-reviewed journal articles, and they have to be published between the years 2018 and 2025. So when you go into Google Scholar, it does allow you to pick the preference of the publication year. So you can literally just put you want only articles that were published in 2018 between 2025. So that really just narrowed it down for me. So that was a lot easier than just trying to do the discover sources. That just took too long. So once you have your 7 sources in here, the first source that you put in will generate this. But once you have your 7, you're going to go over here and you're going to make sure that you do a mind map, a podcast, and then she said that we could utilize any of the other tools if we wanted to, but it's not required, so you don't have to do that. I did just kind of make a blog post because that kind of synthesized all 7 of my sources and just made it a little bit more digestible to read. And then once you've done that, you're going to take each of your 7 sources and you're going to put it over here in the chat, and it should generate like a summary of everything in that source. And once it does that, you're going to go to the bottom of it and you're going to press this button right here where it says save to note, and that'll save it over here. And you're going to want to make sure you do that with all 7 sources and that you're saving the note each time, and it should look something like this. So you should make sure that when you're done with this, you have 7. So all of these, and this is just like a summarization of those sources. So it's like this, but it's over here. So once you've gotten that all set up, you can start going back here. So your 5 sources, again, I would just go to Google Scholar, and then we need 2 other sources that come from this list. So for the government reports and databases, you could do things like the U.S. departments. I did use the U.S. Department of Education. I would just be a little bit mindful of the information in some of the U.S. departments, just because some of it's not all credible, but use your own discretion. For reputable news organizations, so because we're asking kind of psychological questions, I would suggest like APA, that's the American Psychology Association. So they produce like basically only psychology or psychological like journal articles, and they are, you know, obviously reputable, so that kind of covers that base. Also like universities, so the University of Cambridge is a really popular one, and they produce a lot of articles too, so you might want to look into that. Okay, so then we're going to go down here to source evaluation. So we're going to make sure that each of our sources has this material in them. So if you go over here, and then we're going to go all the way to the top. So this is what this looks like. So this is my source, my author's credentials, publication, credibility, currency, purpose and bias, and overall rating. So this information is just going to come from this. So usually with articles like these, the authors are typically like doctors or professors. They're educated in the field that they're talking about, and you'll literally just say that. For publication credibility, what you're looking for in that is just where did this source come from, and are they reputable? So this source came from the Frontiers in Psychology. It's a respected and peer-reviewed open access journal, so it kind of meets all that criteria. And then if we go over here, once you've completed that, you're gonna want to make sure that you do that for all 7 sources, which is actually a lot and very time consuming and probably what takes the longest out of this entire assignment. This part B, summarizing your credible sources, so that was the LM stuff that I talked about. So if you go over here, that's the mind map and your podcast, and then making sure that each of your sources are noted over here, and then just utilizing any other tools that you want to try out. And then right here, so this is final credible source summary with APA references. So the first thing is create and save a 7th edition APA reference list of your sources in Notebook LM. So what she's wanting from that is you're going to go back to your Notebook LM. You are going to type in the chat and you're going to tell it to create you a 7th edition APA reference list, and you're going to want to make sure that it organizes that alphabetically, because you will need it in alphabetical order when you copy it and paste it to your Word doc. So once it does that, you're just going to copy and paste it over to your Word doc, and it should look something like this. So you're going to have references, and then it should all be alphabeticalized from there, and you're just going to want to go in and make sure that it looks correct. When I copied and pasted those from Notebook LM, these were like dead links, and you'll know it's dead when it's gray. Those they're not accessible, they don't take you to the website, so you always want to make sure that your links are blue. That means it's an active link, and if you press it, it will work. But it kind of looks like this. So these are obviously the sources. When we go back to this right here where it says brief summary, project relevance, and key information, initially when I did this, I had the brief summary and the project relevance on a separate, in a separate list. She doesn't want it like that. She told me that these need to be underneath the source it belongs to. So that's what you're going to do. You're just going to go ahead and put your brief summary, and then your project relevance, and then any key information you have, you're going to put it underneath the source it belongs to, and it should look something like this. I just did a whole paragraph and just combined the brief summary and the project relevance together. I didn't really include any key information because by the time I got to this part, it was 1 o'clock in the morning, and I just didn't have time for that. So anyway, that's what it should look like. Where you're going to get your information from for your brief summary and your project relevance, again, is going to be at Notebook LM. So when you go to a source and you press on it, it opens a source guide. So unfortunately, we can't just copy and paste this and put that in as our brief summary. So what you're going to do is you're just going to read through this summary for each of your sources, and then you're just going to pick the talking points and kind of just summarize those. It only has to be about 3 or 4 sentences. And then for project relevance, you're just going to kind of look what the study was about, what it achieved, and then just be like, oh, this is relevant to my question because they answered this question, or because the findings were, relevant to, concepts that I'm looking at. Something like that. Key information is really just anything extra you find that you might want to include or you think is relevant. But again, I don't think you really have to do that, so I didn't do it. Anyway, so that's where you're going to get that information, and by the time you're done, so you should have a reference list with the brief summary and project relevance, and then you should have something that looks like this for your source evaluations. And you see why I said it took so long, because that's literally 3 pages of nothing but. So that's what you're going to do for that. And then once you're done with this, once it looks like this and you've got all your information in there and your Notebook LM assignment is complete, you're going to go ahead and share it over here and just make sure that you give her the access. I have an open link, so literally anybody with this link can open it if they want to. And you can see over here it's public, so you don't have to do that, but you can just send her the link if you want to. And you go down here, you're going to want to make sure that you send your Google Doc and your Notebook LM to her email, and then you're going to also want to create URLs and submit them to Blackboard, and I will show you what that looks like. You're going to go to Research Portfolio, and oh, sorry, press the wrong one. Come back. I'm going to go over here. It's a late submission because I missed the deadline by literally 20 minutes, so I was so close. Alright, so this is what it should look like. You submit, these are both links to the Notebook LM and to the Google Doc. and then you should be done. If you guys have any other questions, just let me know, but I'm pretty sure that covered everything.